Hi, everybody. Welcome. It's Jen Oknin, and I am so excited to be here for episode 5 of my series, The Modern Midlife Woman. If you have missed previous episodes, you can find them really on all my streaming platforms. On LinkedIn, you can go to my profile and go to the events page, and they're all there. Even the ones that I did last year, like my 30 Days of Live series, you can see them on my YouTube channel. And I think Facebook now only saves lives for a few months. So you can find my most recent ones, though. So I am so excited to be here today. I think this is an amazing topic. Everybody has a lot of questions on it. So I'll go ahead and get started. But first, I just want to say again, welcome. And if you are joining here, I'd love for you to put in the comments, hi, and where you're joining from, whether it's a particular platform like the YouTube or LinkedIn, or just where are you? Where are you in the country? Where are you in the world? I always love knowing that so I can see where all my friends are. So today with blood sugar management, I think you all know, if you have followed my content before, and if this is your first time, again, welcome. I think you all know, though, I really believe in a foundations first approach. What does that mean? Your foundations, whether it's your foundational hormones, your foundational habits, those big boulders, those are the things that I like to start with. Because just like the foundation of a house, it's got to be planned, it's got to be laid out, it's got to be strong. You don't want any cracks in your foundations. I think I put this in a post just a few days ago. You don't start spending money on countertops if you've got a leak in your basement, right? You've got to fix those things first. And then once you fix those things, as you progress, you can build on to other solutions, right? Like then changing up or adding to your exercise routine or stepping up how you're thinking about your meals. Or if you want to look at some of the other solutions that are out there now, whether it's a GLP-1 or if you're looking at HRTs, right? Those are all tools in that toolkit. But there's a level, there's a progression that you should think about things, right? You never want to start at the top. You want to start with those foundations, with those root causes. And so if you saw my live a few weeks ago, I was talking about really the 3 foundational hormones that we need to consider to be healthy, to have an optimized metabolism, to have an ideal body weight that we can carry through for healthy longevity, right? So those 3 hormones today, I'm going to speak specifically about blood sugar, which is related to the hormone insulin. Okay, insulin. So if you're joining me on the replay, just for my friends who are joining after the fact, since these are always available, go ahead and put hashtag replay as we get going. And if you're joining while we're progressing, any questions that you do have, put them in the comments. I'm not great at stopping in the middle to answer them, but when I'm done, it should be about 10 minutes today. I'll go ahead and answer all of your questions. So I'm actually going to put up the comments window so that I am seeing it. And just let me go ahead and take down that banner. Okay. So blood sugar management, foundations first approach. So important. So, last week, at the end of last week, I put up a SWAN study. This is a new study that came out, very impactful, and was looking at menopausal women. And it was talking about how, depending upon what your metabolic level of health was before you entered into menopause, that would determine your levels of inflammation and your severity of symptoms when you got into menopause, right? And it was very interesting because it really proved that when the more healthy you are going into menopause, the more you have better metabolic flexibility, the more you have, optimized blood sugar, the more healthy you are, the easier time of it that you're going to have in menopause. So that's another reason that I wanted to talk about this today, because menopause is having a moment, right? It's all out there. I love seeing all my perimenopause and menopause coaches out there and just really spreading the word. So again, it's never too late to start thinking about blood sugar management as it relates to a healthy metabolism and a healthy weight. But the earlier you start, the better off you're going to be. So I am 51. Yeah, I'm 51. With luck and God's grace, right? I've got 30, 35, 40 years left of living to do. So is it too late to focus on my weight? No. If you're 60 and you have 20 pounds you want to lose, is it too late? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. If you're 30 and you haven't experienced perimenopause symptoms, right? And you're not struggling with weight, great, stay there. Not, really, really nail down those healthy habits and keep them going through, and your body is going to thank you for it, right? So let's talk about blood sugar management. Let's talk about glucose. Let's talk about insulin first so that we can all get straight on what that is. So first of all, insulin is a hormone. It comes from your pancreas. Insulin's role is to shuttle blood sugar, glucose, that we get from eating food, to shuttle it into our cells, that our cells, our mitochondria in our cells, our metabolic energy, right? That can be used for energy. That's the role. So think about insulin as basically the key that goes into a lock of a door. So insulin, you put that key in the lock, it opens up, the energy, glucose from our food, right, gets into the cells. It's shuttling energy in. That's its role, okay? Insulin resistance shows up. We got a little comment here. Insulin resistance shows up when we just have too much glucose constantly in the bloodstream, constantly trying to get into the cells. Hey, Kathleen, thanks for joining. So over time, insulin resistance can develop because it's like, man, I am constantly opening the store. Oh my gosh, so much glucose. It kind of gives up. That's when you develop something called insulin resistance, which is a precursor to type 2 diabetes. Now, the great thing is that insulin resistance, reversible. Type 2 diabetes is reversible. Unlike type 1, right? Type 1 diabetes is when your body doesn't produce enough insulin to manage your blood sugar. Completely different, okay? So we've got this role that insulin plays to manage our blood sugar levels, how much glucose is literally in our blood, right? Now, when can this go wrong? When can this impact our weight loss efforts, right? Well, you have all this glucose going into cells. What if there's not enough energy storage? Let me give you an example. So your liver, your queen organ, your biggest organ in your body, your liver stores glucose for fuel. Number one, that's a big storage place, right? Number two, your muscles store glucose for food. Great. Your cells, right? All the cells in your body are using glucose for fuel. Great. When there's no more storage or your insulin resistance, isn't getting that glucose into all those cells, where's the sugar go? If you're not using it for energy, the only place it can go is turn into stored fuel, aka fat. And this fat is really difficult to shift back into usable energy, right? So what I want to talk about today is how you can make sure that you have good metabolic flexibility, good blood sugar utilization, good ways to make sure that you're keeping your blood sugar steady and that the fuel that you are taking in from the food that you are eating is being adequately used for all the processes in your body, and you have all the energy to do what you want to do, but you don't have a ton left over that is being stored as fat. Perfect. Right? Because a lot of women, especially when they get into midlife, due to environmental conditions, poor eating habits, lack of exercise, lack of sleep, right? They're in this condition of insulin resistance. So they start trying to make healthy changes, but things just get stuck. And maybe they're not trying the right levers or the right tactics, the right methodologies to be able to start to turn that around, to be able to reduce that insulin resistance so that they have healthy blood sugar levels. Okay. So how do you know if your blood sugar is out of whack? Kathleen, if you know, put it in the comments, girl. So how do you know if you're experiencing unhealthy blood sugar? Well, Your first symptom is that you're having cravings. Cravings, oh my gosh. If you're having cravings, like I think I put it in the post, right? If you are feeling totally slumped and then you're like, oh my gosh, I just need a candy bar, or I just need a coffee, I just need a Starbucks run, that is low blood sugar, and your body remembers, your body has a memory. And it remembers saying, well, the last time I felt like this, I went and got a candy bar and I ate that and I felt a lot better, right? All of a sudden, all this glucose is flooding into your system. You feel wonky. Exactly, Kathleen. You feel wonky. So it's going to remember and it's going to make you have that craving. So that's an example, right? So if you're feeling another trigger or another symptom that you could recognize as poor blood sugar utilization is after a very poor night's sleep, you wake up and you're super hungry. Maybe when you're not really ever that hungry in the morning, but you're super hungry. That's your body saying, holy smokes, I didn't get enough sleep last night. I am tired. I'm going to need extra fuel, right? So again, another signal. So let's talk about 4, 5, 6 easy ways that you can start addressing blood sugar to make sure you are handling it adequately. So you have the right levels, you have consistent energy levels throughout the day, and that you're not storing too much extra as fat. That's what we all want, right? We want an ideal body composition that's healthy for us, that keeps us strong, that makes us feel sexy, right? Because why not? And lets us do the things that we need to do in life, whether it's carry groceries, carry luggage, travel, just get our butts out of a chair, right? These are good things. These are good goals, daily goals that we need to do. So very first one, I alluded to it with consistency. Consistent meal timing is the first way that you can help manage your blood sugar. If one day you skip breakfast and then the next day, you don't eat until dinner, and then the next day you're eating like 4 or 5 times, bum, 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 bum. Your fuel timing, your feedings, right? What a word to use for people, right? Your feedings are inconsistent. That means your blood sugar levels are going to be inconsistent, right? It's chaotic. It's a chaotic mess. So that alone is just going to create havoc in your system. So having breakfast, lunch, and dinner at consistent times, if you're having snacks, having a snack at a consistent time, that's going to help level it in, right? Calories in, calories out. Consistency. That is the number one basic way of good blood sugar management. Eat consistently, okay? Number 2 is, I'm eating consistently now. Let's look at what I am eating. Number 2. So I had a client who loved oatmeal. They were always eating oatmeal for breakfast. They had done it all the time. Okay, great. And then lunch was usually like a sandwich or chips or granola in, lots of dried fruit. So as I think about this, I'm like, that's a lot of glucose, right? Oatmeal itself isn't necessarily bad, especially if we're talking about steel cut oats, lots of good fiber in there, but where's the protein? So when you think about eating things and making smart choices for blood sugar management, you want to think about having adequate levels of protein consistently throughout the day. You want to think about having adequate levels of fiber consistently throughout the day. Why? Protein is, when we think about macronutrients, fats, protein, carbohydrates, protein is the most difficult for our bodies to break down. It takes the most energy to break it down. So you're basically burning calories just by digesting your protein, and it makes you feel full longer. So the act of slow digestion means a slow release of glucose. Okay. So if you're having a lot of protein and then you're having good quality fiber and you're pairing that with your carbohydrates, that is going to slow down the release of that blood sugar. Make sense? Of course. So the second tip is making sure that you're having adequate protein and fiber throughout the day in those consistent meals. See how I'm a foundations girl? I like to build. So the next thing, number 3, I mentioned carbs, right? So let's talk about carbs for a minute, because I'm never going to be a person that doesn't eat carbs. I'm never going to tell my clients you can't have carbs, right? There's lots of different types of carbs though. So if I have a client who comes to me and says, well, I don't eat carbs, I'm thinking to myself, where is the joy in your life? No, just kidding, just kidding. But they say, I don't eat carbs. I say, okay, tell me more. They said, well, I don't eat bread. I don't eat rice. I don't eat pasta. I say, okay, so you're not eating starchy carbohydrates. You're not eating starches. Yes, Jen. Okay, got it. Do you eat any vegetables? Well, I eat a few vegetables a day. Okay, vegetables are carbs too. Fruits are carbs too. They're just different kinds. And vegetables and fruits can be, there's a range. They can be high on the glycemic index, which is they have a lot of sugar, or they can be a little bit lower. They can be high in fiber, or they can be lower in fiber. So when you think about making a quality carbohydrate choice, something that isn't a quality carb is what I like to call anti-foods. These are manufactured food-like substances that have pretty labels on them, and they're all over the TV, right? The junky stuff, which I'm not saying you have to give it all up, because sometimes you might want a bag of chips. I like chips, but that's going to be a small percentage of the carb choices you make. If you want to stabilize your blood sugar, feel full longer, get adequate micronutrients, then make choices that are slow carbs, high fiber carbs, Brussels sprouts. Yum. I used to hate those as a kid. I love them now, especially roasted. Broccoli, cauliflower, asparagus, right? Lots of veggies, lots of veggies, lots of veggies. We need to eat more vegetables. If we ate more vegetables and more protein, we'd all be so much better off. So that is the third one. Make smarter carbohydrate choices. And then, of course, you're pairing them with what? Protein and fiber. And yes, healthy fats, because healthy fats are filling too, and they're great for the hormones. And then you're having them again consistently throughout the day. See how this builds? Building this, right? So let's talk about exercise next, because there's a couple different ways that exercise really helps with blood sugar management. And you know that even one exercise session can completely turn your blood sugar spike around. And let me mention spikes for a second. I'm gonna take a little side note here. Your blood sugar is going to spike. That's normal. Okay, that's normal. A blood sugar spike isn't necessarily a bad thing. We just want to talk about how much, right? The devil's in the details. It's all about nuances here. So if you have a graph, right? Oh, I'm getting way nerdy here. If you have a graph and you have a lower spec limit and an upper spec limit, you want your blood sugar curves to kind of stay within those limits, right? You don't want this, right? Which is what you get from eating the anti-food processed manufactured crap, right? You want slower, more subtle waves. That's what we're going for here when I talk about stable blood sugar. Okay, not that there's no spikes whatsoever. Okay, I want to put that myth aside. I said I was going to talk about some myths. That's a misnomer for sure. So when we talk about exercise, what's exercise do? Burns calories, right? What is our preferred form of fuel? Glucose. Great. So how can you manage blood sugar? After a meal, do some exercise. Do some exercise, right? If it's cold outside and still snowing where you are, do 1 minute of jump squats or squats. Do it. That's going to burn some up. It's going to help stabilize your blood sugar faster. If you can go out and you can do like a nice 20, 30-minute walk at a kind of little, not a sonder, but a walk, bang, you're going to help manage that blood sugar, right? Get those spikes down. So exercise strategically after meals is a great way to manage your blood sugar levels. Perfect. Love it. Now, the last thing that I'm going to talk about is muscles, right? Because exercise, what I just talked about was some cardio bursts, right? I think short little cardio bursts like that or a longer extended walk, amazing. That's for managing blood sugar. I want to talk about exercise though for building muscle. Muscle is your metabolic engine. The more muscle you have, what happens? I said a few minutes ago that muscle is a storing place for carbs. So the bigger your storage, the more carbs you can put in here, the less that are left over to be what? Converted into fat. Makes sense, right? So if you're already eating a lot of good protein, think about that. That's like the building blocks. That's the materials to fix your foundation, right? Your cement, you got you've got your materials, you got lumber, whatever. We're fixing the crack in the foundation, right? Strength training is the labor, right? You're getting in there and you're doing the work. You are fueled adequately to build up muscle. Now, when you strength train, what you actually are doing is tearing down muscle fibers. And then afterwards, the protein that you're eating is repairing them and they build back up stronger. It's just like, think about it. When you break a bone, the place where the bone is knitted together again and heals is actually stronger than the rest of the bone. The body is amazing. So I'm not talking about, huge bulky muscles either, ladies. Let's put that myth aside. We don't have the hormonal structures, the hormonal component. I can't think of the right word. We don't have the hormones to get super big. Okay. And the women who are doing those strength training competitions on stage, they're eating and they're doing specifically for that. I'm talking about toned, lean, sexy muscle that helps us burn calories, that makes us look good in our clothes. You're having those Linda Hamilton Terminator 2 arms. I'm dating myself here. Yes, I'm going to be 52. But, I'm thinking about Demi Moore when she was a SEAL. She looked great, right? We're talking about lean, sexy muscle. So don't be afraid to pick up a weight. Get some help if you don't know how to do it. This is something I talk to the women about in my program, all these things. But build more muscle, because when you build more muscle, you have a stronger, more active metabolism, and you can eat more food. Bonus, right? I'm a foodie. I love to eat food. So the more muscle you have, the more calories you can take in and use them, because your muscles are very greedy tissue, right? They're going to take those stores. They're going to take those calories. This is a good thing. Right? This is a good thing. We're revving, we're rocking and rolling. Like, I can eat a lot more calories than I used to because I have more muscle than I used to. And that's a great thing. And that helps keep your weight stable. It helps keeps you strong. That helps keep you having a sexy peach, right? Looking good. It's going to be 80 the end of this week here in Atlanta. I can't believe it. Shorts are going to be coming out, right? Swimsuits are coming out. We already have people on spring break action going on. So lots of good things to look forward to. So those are the 5 tips. This is when I talk about a foundations first approach to your health, to your weight loss, to healthy longevity, to healthy hormones, to, a great metabolism. When we focus on blood sugar management, focus on your fundamentals. Consistent meals with good protein, fiber, healthy fats, and slow carbs, right? Boom, boom, add those in. And then strategic exercise after eating, little quick bursts of cardio to help, take the edges off those spikes. And then focus on strength training. Strength training is terrific for managing blood sugar. And that's what I've got today. These are the things that I help my women that I work with, is to focus on these fundamentals, because what I just talked about is kind of the highest level of those levers. Understanding how much to eat of protein, how much to eat of fiber, what type of exercise I should be doing when, how does that work for my lifestyle, what type of foods, are best for me. Those are things that I help my clients with. So if you've listened to all this information and you're like, Jen, this makes so much sense. I get it. I want to learn more. I want to start working on this. I just need a little bit of help. Reach out. Send me a DM wherever you are. If you're on LinkedIn, I'm on my LinkedIn all the time, Facebook as well. If you're watching this on YouTube, you can send me an email at hello@jenoknin.com and let's talk about it. And we can go through what you have going on, what your goals are, what your lifestyle habits are like. And then I'll make some recommendations on a plan and we can decide if we're a good fit to work together, right? That's super important. Making sure that our goals and my methodologies and all those things, that we're all in alignment, right? So that's what I have for you today. It is 12:25. Yay, I kept it within a half an hour. If you love this episode, please share it. Please share it with your friends. Please comment. I'd love to hear your feedback. I'm going to be doing these, like I said, every other week. And I am so excited. I think next week's topic, or 2 weeks topic I have picked. Hold on, I'm just checking my calendar here. Oh, I'm going to be talking about navigating events. Because again, events, whether it is a vacation, whether it's a work event, whether it's a dinner event, how can you navigate through those events if you're on a healthy plan and without going off track, right? That's a big concern. Every woman I work with has this concern. So I'm going to be talking about that within the next 2 weeks. If you have questions on that in advance, you can go ahead and send me a DM or just be sure and tune in. And if you are watching this on replay, go ahead and put in #replay and put your comments in there, and I will be sure to check them as well. And I just had a user, LinkedIn, may please help me make a plan for my weight loss journey. I don't see your name there, so go ahead and send me a DM and we can talk about it. I will say that primarily I work with women. That's what I am focused on now. So guys, I worked with you in the past. I will work with you if you're in, but I talk a lot in my community about hormones and estrogen and progesterone and testosterone and all of those things. So again, woman-focused clients, specifically if you're 35, 40, etc. Like I talked about earlier, the healthier you can be going into menopause, the better. The healthier you can be going into perimenopause, the better. Perimenopause is basically that second puberty, right? Your hormones just starting to go chaotic, right? This can start as early as age 35. This can last up to 10 years, right? So again, the earlier you start taking care of your health, the better. So my door is always open, DMs, for questions. So if you have anything you want to shout out at me, go ahead and pop them in there and I will get back to you. Thanks so much for joining today. And I'll see you in 2 weeks when I talk about navigating events.